Evening and welcome to Streampunk Sports, Streampunk Entertainment, and What Grinds My Gears. Tonight, we're going to be spending a little time talking about what's grinding our gears in the world of Major League Baseball. Alongside me today is Mr. J.D. Walker, Mr. Obie Spencer, and Lehigh Valley Iron Pig and the AAA affiliate of the Philadelphia Phillies, Mr. Michael Ventola, their play-by-play broadcaster. Gentlemen, how you doing, and why am I sounding like this?
I think you're trying to do your best play-by-play.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You're trying to live up the mic there. That's what's going on. No,
I was going to say, not bad so far. I may have to take you on for a game or two this season. Not bad.
Dude, I've done play-by-play before. I'd love to basically come out there and do it, man. Hell yeah. But yeah, thank you as always, man. I appreciate it. It's been a little while since we've talked. I know you've got the new season coming April 5th. Because unlike Major League Baseball, minor league baseball is actually happening this year.
Yeah, it's happening. We're really excited. I know right now there is so many feelings right now happening for baseball fans all across the nation right now. And, there's sadly this bad mantra out there, this bad messaging saying, well, baseball's not happening. That's not true. Just go into your communities and realize that minor league baseball is going to be playing all throughout the country, whether it be affiliated or independent minor league baseball. Minor league baseball is going to go on without a hitch. So if for those of you who are true baseball fans, as much as if you're from, live by me in Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley, come to an Iron Pigs game. But if not, go support your local minor league team. So that's why minor league baseball is ready to rock and roll this year.
There's plenty of baseball at all different levels around college as well, and other independent leagues.
I gotta say, it has actually been surprisingly well published. Probably because of what my particular Twitter feeds are, but that there is plenty of baseball going around. And so I ask you this: I know you're in the minor league team, but is this a sort of, and if you're okay to talk about, I know we kind of, there's things you can't weave about because these are your bosses. But is there a directive to sort of make sure that, well, there won't be Major League Baseball. We're going to make sure we keep interest high by keeping people focused on these other games, or is that just a personal choice for you to take advantage of the situation because, hey, more people at the Iron Pigs better for you in the short run anyway?
Major League Baseball essentially had issued a statement way back. Even in the midst of the early stages of the lockout, pretty much ensuring not just minor league organizations, but just fans of baseball saying that despite the lockout, minor league baseball is going to play. So it even has support from Major League Baseball as well, too, that knowing that minor league teams are going to go on without a hitch. And large in part, too, is that even though despite the major league players are not going to be able to play, and we can certainly talk a little bit more about that breakdown, but that minor league players will be able to develop without a hitch, at least for those who are not on 40-man rosters. We can certainly talk more about that, if you guys certainly want to talk about that. So, but it's a little bit of a balance right now. Yes, minor league teams are constantly going on their social media platforms, the website, saying, hey, just another reminder, our opening day is Tuesday, April 5th, or another reminder, our opening day is, Tuesday, April 12th, or whatever date it may be. And, another day that despite Major League Baseball being locked out, but minor league baseball is going to go on without a hitch. So lots of different messaging, right now from minor league teams throughout the country. And, but of course, for me as a selfish baseball fan, I hope the lockout can end sooner rather than later.
Sure.
You actually touched on the next question I was going to bring up. So you're at the AAA, the Iron Pigs are at the AAA level, right?
Yes.
So if they're not, since any player on a 40-man roster would not be eligible, so that's about 10 to 15 roster spots. Presumably there would be the ranks would be filled up from AA and so on up the chain. But every team is in that situation, so it's a level playing field, right?
Yeah, it is. Without question. So like right now, I can speak to for the Philadelphia Phillies, they have a decent amount of guys on the 40-man roster that normally would have been with AAA Lehigh Valley, but they can't play because they're on the 40-man roster. So, but there are a lot of organizations out there that are fortunate enough to have a decent amount of their prospects not on the 40-man roster. So, look, the New York Yankees have one of the highest rated systems in Major League Baseball. They're going to, between their AAA affiliate in Scranton Wilkes-Barre and their AA affiliate in Somerset with the Somerset Patriots, they should, they could be in really good shape to start. Even with the New York Mets, their farm system's starting to turn around a little bit, even despite all the spending that Steve Cohen was doing prior to the lockout. So, I think every organization's different, but like for us here with the Philadelphia Phillies, the Phillies' top-rated prospect is not on the 40-man roster, and he's expected to be the opening day shortstop for our team here in Lehigh Valley. So, there are still reasons to get out to a minor league ballpark outside of the normal, mantra, cheap, fun, family entertainment, but also too, you could still see some prospects depending on what minor league club is affiliated with the parent organization you're nearby.
And not just that, but also a lot of pro players themselves, either rehabbing or trying to get that second chance, third chance, whatever it is. You still get quality talent at the AAA, the Atlantic League level, and things like that. But it gets this, I guess, the stigma a little bit that it's not fully there. But at the same time, you still get 100% quality anyway.
Yeah, you certainly do. And look, I know you guys at one point or another have been to a minor league game, whether it's right in your backyard or in the midst of all, where you guys have traveled throughout your careers. So, look, I think minor league baseball provides, for the truest of diehard baseball fans that are out there that are itching, granted, okay, yes, I understand Bryce Harper's not going to be stepping up to the plate or Mike Trout or, certain guys, but at least at a minor league ballpark, you're going to be able to still see, as you said, quality baseball. And also, too, on the other side of it, if you have a family, if you take friends out, it's still a fun night out at the ballpark as well.
And less expensive.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean,
Go ahead,
to
sorry.
me, the single best baseball game I've ever seen was not even minor leagues. It was actually a Little League World Series game where one pitcher pitches a no-hitter for 7 innings and the other pitcher is pitching a perfect game for the 7 innings. And that's the best baseball game I've ever seen. So you get that possibility of always getting great games when you're looking at minor league ball. So, yeah. And the other thing, like you said, I have been to more boxes in minor league games than you will ever get to in a pro game, because you can be like, oh, it's Obi's birthday. My wife can pay for a whole box and afford a whole box, and then invite a bunch of my friends. She doesn't even have to be like, let's all chip in, versus a pro game, a box, you better know somebody and then hope that they're giving it to you free because they're, you work at that company.
Yeah, so that's, those are options are out there as well too. So, and that's one thing that we've been telling our fans. It's funny, like our fans, we just had a big we had a big ticket event on Saturday. We had over 1,000 people show up. I mean, just to, we were giving out free pulled pork and pulled turkey sandwiches. We had entertainment. We had membership tables set up, ticket tables set up, and people were just walking around saying, we're ready. We're ready to come back and watch baseball. It seems like as of right now, guys, no restrictions in regards to, at least from a COVID-19 standpoint. Obviously, who knows, that could change at any point, but hopefully not. So, I know fans are just itching to get back to the ballpark and watch a baseball game. So we're really excited about it. So, but I know, this lockout just continues though to take over the social media channels right now. Because I think people are talking more about that than worrying about the NFL Combine or the upcoming NFL Draft here at this point.
And that's what opens up the issues right now with baseball, because of the fact that over the last few years, you've been seeing a decline in the ratings. Now, in this case, I know you're limited on what you can talk about and everything like that. So if it goes too far, by all means, let me know. But you've seen in the last few years a decline in the baseball ratings. In the last 12 years, the NBA Finals has actually done better in the ratings than the World Series 8 out of the last 12 times. And it's indicative of the way the sports are going in general. And this right now, I mean, could this have been at a worse time for MLB?
No, I think right now you look at what's going on in society. Obviously, the world battling a pandemic. You see what's going on, in the Eastern Hemisphere, and you see what, with Ukraine and Russia, and you see like everything that's going on in the world, inflation. People are, battling a lot right now within their own individual lives. And I think, really couldn't come at a tougher time for Major League Baseball to, experiencing what they're experiencing through. But of course, right now, both sides, they are passionate. They are, fighting for what they believe in right now. And, and everybody's got opinion on, which side is right, which side is wrong, but I think you talked about how there's already been a decline. I think even prior to this lockout. Look, for all four of us here, we're baseball. We love baseball. We could sit, we could watch a game, and not care about anything else in the world. I think one of the biggest issues that baseball's got going on right now, it's from a marketing standpoint. They have not been able to market their sport as well as you guys said, whether it's been the NBA. The NFL right now is blowing everybody else out of the water. It's funny, even despite the news that pops out of the NFL every now and then, they market their sport beautifully. PGA's risen. I don't know about you, amongst your friend circles, your associate circle, golf has risen. Even, we'd all be wondering what would life be without Tiger Woods. Has
soccer really as well.
And soccer too. I can sit and I turn on ESPN and, a soccer match is on main ESPN and you're sitting there and you're watching it. So obviously the NCAA has been doing very good with football and basketball for decades. So, and I think in order for Major League Baseball to get in front of this, because they are going to play at some point, I am more than confident they are going to play at some point this season. They got to figure out, how do we appeal to the younger audience? How are you going to get kids? I have my own theory and in my own mindset on how you can attract younger people. But it just seems like right now they have a lot more other things to be focusing on, obviously a lot with dollars and cents, CBT and all that stuff. So we'll see how it goes.
Part of it, I think, comes from – go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Let's just work in a circle.
All
right.
I had the last ones.
Yeah. So we'll just do it that way. So, I mean, my man Scott, TV background, always focuses on ratings. But then you look at baseball and the revenue is growing and growing and growing. So are the owners ignoring the rating situation? I hear lots of people talking, the game's not what it used to be. I think Trevor Bauer had a series of tweets that I shared with Scott about, if we get rid of the switch, we also should get rid of all these other things, although I am a man for rule tweaks, it's what the NFL does every year to keep their game interesting. But do the owners not necessarily feel they have a problem that ratings isn't their key issue if they're able to draw people to the ballpark and get them to buy the hot dogs and the hamburgers and the popcorn at whatever those prices are, and their revenues are going to keep growing?
No, I think, you brought a good point. Yeah, baseball, certainly their revenue has gone up. I think for them, they have to, yes, in ratings certainly does have a play, but let's be honest. Look how much money is going into the TV. The TV contracts, you look at the World Series, the Major League Baseball playoffs, just overall, people do watch the playoffs. People do watch, the World Series. But I think the biggest issue, though, is, getting people out to the ballparks more consistently. Every team obviously has their choice in, what they charge for food, what they charge for tickets and parking. I grew up a fan of I grew up a big New York Yankees fan. Can't tell you how many games I used to go to Yankee Stadium. It's getting harder to go. Just because of, whether it's the parking deck or wherever you go park or, the price of tickets. So, but I can see where both sides of the argument from between you guys, why ratings you think, and then obviously with revenue, but ultimately it does come down to dollars and cents. And the bottom line has ultimately been met in a good spot for Major League Baseball than it has been not in a good spot. So because baseball purists, people who love the game, are still going to either go to the game or they're going to turn it on TV. Where baseball right now, and this is kind of what I said from a marketing standpoint, is it's the casual fan. How do you turn the casual fan into becoming a diehard fan? And that's where Major League Baseball right now is having its biggest challenge. Because let's be honest, how many the NFL does a great job on reeling in casual people because it's one day, one day a week.
It's a weekend usually.
It's a weekend usually. Done.
Yeah.
Baseball's every day. The NBA is every other day. The NHL is every other day. NASCAR is a race two a month. The PGA, they have an event a month, give or take, depending on the time of year. So baseball has to work harder and harder and harder to keep people interested day in and day out. And Obi, I thought you brought up a good point. How Roger Goodell and the NFL, every year they make some sort of rule change. Mm-hmm. I'm as traditionalist and as old school when it comes to the game of baseball. But I think now Major League Baseball needs to look into modernizing the game in some capacity. They've taken big steps in that direction, but I think they're going to have to continue in order to attract the younger fan.
Now, part of the issue, I think, is it, if we're going, are we still going?
No,
Okay. Get up, I'm laughing.
All right. I actually interned for a minor league team for a summer in college. The New Jersey Jackals, an unaffiliated Frontier League team, and it is a much different experience, especially for fans in the stadium. Much more down to earth. There is opportunity there. I think another one of the big issues with the growth of the sport is the fact that the NFL, the NBA are national sports, and they market themselves as such. Baseball's problem is that it's a regional sport, and a lot of teams are stuck in not so great TV contracts because those regional sports networks are the main driver, and local TV ratings are the main driver of the revenue, not so much the national pie. And some teams are in better shape than others with that, which is why you even see disagreement amongst the owners themselves. So and these contracts are very restrictive and based on linear cable subscriptions, your Comcast, DirecTV, Fios, whoever. And and a lot of folks of all generations, but especially younger generations, are cord cutting and never had cord to begin with. So as a result, Major League Baseball's revenue streams are tied to a business model which is in decline, and they have restrictive, exclusive contracts. So those networks are not available in things like YouTube TV, Hulu, and so forth, and the online streaming services, and even with some cable companies. You read about such and such team is and their network is in a dispute with Comcast or whichever other cable company, so Comcast has dropped them. So as a result, but the games are still blacked out online. So you can't. Yep. So there's a lot of fans in big areas of the country that can't watch the sport. You can't grow the sport and grow fans and grow the next generation of fans if your product is harder to access. I think this is baseball's biggest issue, and I think the owners know it, which is why you're seeing disagreements amongst the owners themselves, because the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the big market teams will be fine, but Kansas City, Cincinnati, not so much. There's parts of Iowa that are blacked out by 6 teams because they're all claimed as local territory, even though they're not within 200 miles of any team. Yet that is still considered local territory. How are you going to grow the game with hurdles like that?
You bring up a good point, and I think that's something that has to get addressed, as you said. And why, and that's to me just another reason why the other sports, as you mentioned, have done so much better. I thought one of the best things Major League Baseball has done within the last 25 years was the Field of Dreams game this past year. Because I think there you take, now I don't want to kick a debate here, but in my opinion, you took what is, in my opinion, the best baseball movie ever made, Field of Dreams.
Definitely top 5. Look up your coverage.
Okay, yes. I mean, look, I could sit here and tell you.
The Rookie.
I mean, look, I tell
Major
people
League's
like,
always my favorite personally.
and
Go ahead,
selfishly, Bull Durham and League of Their Own are up there for me too. But but like you saw what the Field of Dreams game did. Kevin Costner comes out. You take the most historic franchise in professional sports in the New York Yankees. You put them against the Chicago White Sox, who, obviously there's a tie in there because of Shoeless Joe Jackson from the movie, and obviously the White Sox being in, coming from Chicago, the go to Iowa, was a good tie-in. And by the way, as you guys heard me, I'm a big Yankee fan. One of the best games I've watched in a long time. The White Sox winning that game was meant to happen the way it was. I felt like winning on a walk-off like that. I know as a Yankee fan, you're like, people are saying, Mike, you're an idiot. Why do you say the Yankees? No, the White Sox, they were meant to win that game. Oh, they were meant to. But that right there, I thought was a good step in the right direction to sit there and tie in Hollywood and a good marketing piece to say to young people, look, movie, baseball, people, walk-off home run to win the game. Like you had everything. You had everything.
Baseball movie ends with the Yankees losing, and then everybody lives happily ever after.
Bingo! Exactly. That's what you said it right. The Yankees are always considered the evil empire, and they lose on the national stage. And the ratings for that game were through the roof. They were through the roof. So, but I do think the TV contract, and it just seems like I said, and just for the record, I only know as much as what's going on as you guys do. You see what the writers are putting out there, and obviously television is something of focus right now as well too, with things going on. So, and I think it'll always continue to be a topic, because obviously when teams make the playoffs, they get a certain revenue, bump with those contracts. But like you said too, if Iowa has blockouts from 6 teams and they're over 200 miles, that's inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Because of the Field of Dreams game was where I read about that, was that area of Iowa is claimed as local territory by 6 teams. I believe it's both Chicago teams, the Brewers, Twins, St. Louis and Kansas City. 6 teams, even though they're not, even though they're 200 miles from, at least from any of those places. That's insane. So you need to make a product more accessible, but those contracts are ironclad. The owners are stuck.
Absolutely. So and
it's not a good recipe for growth.
It's not right now.
Now, in this case, basically Brandon's proposal, as you can see down at the bottom.
Yes.
I don't know in this case. I mean, I would turn it into more of an event, but I want to get your thoughts in general. 104-game season, played Thursday through Sunday, so it would become a weekend, basically, event. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when ratings are typically lower, they're traveling, resting, whatever it is. And then the typical start and end schedule, but at 104 games, each game has more value. I don't know if necessarily they're going to actually run with something like that because, more is more, I think, in their mind. But would that be something that would entice the fans a little bit?
Here's my thought. And I was having a conversation with a coworker about this today. It would break my heart if they ever shortened the season. Break my heart. But and it's not going to happen now. I just think the players, and the owners, they don't want to go, but it's too late already. They're going to be below 162. I brought away, just for the record, Brandon, I appreciate you. There is something I do like, especially what it says the weekend of June 30th to July 3 is All-Star Weekend. I think, they usually have it during the week. I think over the weekend would even be cooler, just for, more folks during that time and whatnot. But Scott, I do think that at some point, I don't know when, but I do think at some point, Major League Baseball is going to probably decrease the amount of games played. I have a sneaky suspicion there that it's going to happen at some point. I don't know if it's going to go from 162 to 104. That would be a huge drop. But I do think at some point, it won't happen in this CBA, obviously, but down the line, you could see less games. And just to kind of give you an example too, even though more games came into play here than in AAA. AAA used to play anywhere from 140 to 142 game season. We're now playing 150 game season because of all the Mondays in the league now are off. They're all considered off days. So they had to make up where they would miss and stick them at the end of September. So we go from April all the way through the end of September. I can even see Major League Baseball implementing more off days at some point too, and maybe lessen their games as well at some point. Because the one thing baseball doesn't want to do, they don't want to go into November. That's one thing that you could see. They just are trying to do everything in their power to make sure the World Series ends in October at some point.
Personally, I think you
got
could
double hitters that'll do it. Go ahead.
Personally, I think you could lop off a month of the season, 2 weeks at the beginning, 2 weeks at the end. Also, if you want to expand the playoffs, the games have to go somewhere. So, and with especially with the early season games, before school gets out, where the weather is rainy and cold and bleh in most of the country for most of April, these games are not appealing for anybody. It stinks to play in those games because I played in plenty of those in Little League, and they're brutal to play in. The fans don't want to be there. Nobody wants to be there on a rainy Wednesday in April where it's 40 degrees out. And I think, and then you have the same in late October and early November. So in order to make expanded playoffs work, something needs to give with the calendar. The players want more off days. The only way this happens is if you drop a few weeks from the regular season.
I think another thing too is, I'm sure Obi and Scott, you guys have a question at some point, but I think I heard people said, I heard an idea one time. I don't think it would ever happen, but when spring training happens at all the complexes in Arizona and Florida, start the regular season because the major league teams still profit off those spring training games. They do. They profit. So let's say you talked about the 2 weeks there. I don't know whether it's a week or 2 weeks. Start the regular seasons there and then move everybody up north when things get lower. The only reason why I don't think that would ever come to fruition, I'm only saying that someone said that to me as an idea. How are you going to just move everybody, all the package, all the stuff that goes in, get on trucks, planes, whatever, and send it up. So, from a resource standpoint. So, but, it's a lot of good things we're talking about here that, I'm sure that Major League Baseball and the Players Association will have to tackle at some point if they haven't already.
So I'm going to make a proposition for you about a rule change that you're definitely going to be against.
Hey, Obi knows me too well, so
I'm going to explain why I'm for it, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. Then I'm going to pour myself a drink and listen to you rip me for it.
I can never rip you, pal. I can never rip you.
So my honest feeling about baseball's biggest issue is that it not only is it a regional sport, it's competing from a different time when people really, truly rooted for the uniform. And basketball has proven to us more than anything that people will follow a player from three teams. Hello, LeBron. Hello, Durant. And football has taught us that we want to see our stars in the championship. And I have never seen Mike Trout play in a playoff game. So I want to get my best players, if I am this league, into championship games. So how do I do it? One option is to just shrink the league down. I'm not even suggesting that. No, that's not good. My plan is to change your lineup from 9 guys to 4. And you just go through those 4 guys again and again and again. Because those are the only hitters I want to see hit anyway. I don't want to see your shortstop hit who can't hit. I want to test out my pitchers for real and just put those 4. Imagine you get Mike Trout up in the game, 9 innings. You see Trout hit 9 times? You're going to see, yes. So 72 home runs is over. But you're going to see the guys you want all the time. So that is my suggestion. Tell me I'm crazy. It's too much of a change for the game. I'm going to have a drink.
Well, I want to make sure you take a sip first before I put that on record that you're crazy. By the way, what you pour yourself looks good.
Elijah Craig or Craig. I'm never sure the exact pronunciation.
Okay, very nice.
I love
okay.
it stuff.
I really don't want to say you're crazy, but I'm going to just say though, rather Obi, that your idea there is. Brandon's response there is pretty good. Alonso would strike out 13 times in a game. Is somebody a Met fan? I guess.
Suffering,
but
I think they are.
I think a suffering Met fan. But now you know what, Obi? I think where you're right is guys like Mike Trout that are superstars can't get to the playoffs. But obviously that's their choice. They're playing with it depends on the franchise, the organization are with. It's funny, like the Angels, they're a team that can spend a lot of money, but I think he's only been to the playoffs, I think, once or twice in his entire career. Yeah. But my only beef with, I don't think your rule change is that crazy, because the only problem is, what happens if the bases are loaded and the batter strikes out and there's one out? So you're going to pull the guy off the base to come around and hit, or do you just send the next guy up? I guess that's my only, how does that work?
That's great. I mean, so then the question, look, that's my idea. I know there's holes because there's two options. Do I move the new guy in and bring the other guy out? Or is that when I then go to the fifth batter? Like, he doesn't have to hit, except like the core.
You have designated runners?
I'm very happy with. If you pinch run, does that guy then have to be the hitter going for? But the core of the plan, I love in my heart. The other opportunities, they will make it difficult, and it would take more than one person to come up with the plan.
Okay, but all right. I mean, look, I've actually heard crazier things than that. It's just, I applaud you. At least you're giving it a shot. You're saying baseball, try something here to excite the game a little bit more.
That's even crazier than my rule change idea.
What's yours now? I got to hear yours.
7-inning games.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them in the minor leagues though, 7-inning doubleheaders. So
right. But instead of, and we saw it on a major league level with the COVID year in 2020 in the 7-inning doubleheaders, especially for the fact of how pitching is at a premium and starters barely can make it through 4 or 5 innings anyway, and bullpen is an issue for every team, especially middle innings. You have 7-inning game that addresses the length of the game time and issue, along with other pace of play initiatives. In theory, you have a starter going 5 innings, set up for the 6th inning, closer in the 7th. I think it's a best of both worlds, and you still get quality baseball in that. That isn't, but having 4 DHs essentially that's out there.
Well, I want to ask you three this, because in my circles, and this kind of goes along with obviously the biggest topic, obviously just because of Major League Baseball and a lockout. Let me ask you three this: which one frustrates you more, the shift or the fact that starting pitchers consistently cannot go deeper into games? What frustrates you guys more as fans?
The pitching.
But we are old.
See, I'm old too, and I'm pitching. For me, even though I can't stand the shift, the pitching frustrates me more than the shift.
But the shit, right? Because
I'm going to be the one that goes shift. But go ahead, you guys first.
The pitching not going is newer. Like when Fernando Valenzuela had 20 complete games with like 8 losses, complete games.
Yes.
There was occasionally Earl Weaver throwing in the shit.
I'm all by myself here.
But now it may be overused, but some teams overuse it. Everybody underuses the pitchers. And, pitchers are becoming like quarterbacks. Like wins aren't pitcher stats anymore. Like wins aren't a quarterback stat. Wins shouldn't be a pitcher stat anymore.
Or, the best way to beat the shift, how about the players actually learn how to bunt and hit to the opposite field? Like, there's out of all of the sports where in most sports, I think you could say, players today are, I know this will sound like a get off my lawn kind of thing, and I don't mean it to, but like, due to advancements in, science and training and, rule changes and all, you could make a case for most athletes today being better than athletes in their respective sports several decades ago. The only sport I can't say that about is baseball.
Right.
Because the players that can't bunt, can't hit. Maybe if you weren't such a pull hitter, they wouldn't be doing a shift against you.
All right.
Pitchers that can actually make it through a few innings.
Just let's hear about this.
I realize that just makes me sound old.
Guy.
I was going to say, I'm getting ready to grab my popcorn and we hear what Scott has to say.
Yeah. All right. Basically, an old man, I'm going to pull like an old man yells at cloud kind of situation here, like an Abe Simpson kind of thing. All right. Here's my take on this. And I know I'm alone on this versus all the rest of you guys, and I've accepted that for what it is. We
may not be the majority. My sense is we're not the majority, but go on.
Probably,
Here's the problem that I have with the pitching part of it. It is a new thing that pitchers no longer go 6 innings or hell, even 5 innings anymore for a $30 million contract. I get that part of it. But I think the problem with baseball is it lacks a degree of excitement. And I think the ability to swing and hit with the shift on is taking some of the energy out of and the life out of actually hitting the ball. Yes, they should learn how to basically hit opposite field and everything like that. I understand that. But from an entertainment standpoint, I think that a good shift is more boring to watch than basically pitchers only going 6 innings. So from my take on it, when you see the overshift on and then they ground the ball to the right side, which would have been an actual base hit, but then you got 3, sometimes hell, even 4 players on the right side. To me, it's kind of like it drags the sport down and becomes less interesting. The pitchers themselves, if Garrett Cole runs 5 2/3 or anything like that, and they call it a quality outing after, with 1 run, that's pitching being what it is. But for me personally, I'd rather see an uptick in hitting. When it comes right down to it, what basically airs on SportsCenter and gets the most views on YouTube? It's not a strikeout. It's not a ground out. It's runs batted in and home runs. Aaron Judge is well known because Aaron Judge crushes the ball. And the fact he's 6'8", but that's his thing. The overshift kills the baseball aspect of it and the highlight reel thing, which is in a YouTube generation, something you need to focus on hardcore because you have fans that have attention spans shorter than they have ever had in history. And you need that 30-second clip to basically make baseball more interesting. I think the batting average problem, I think the overshift has caused the batting averages in part to actually start to diminish. And I think cutting out that might actually raise the ratings a little bit.
Well, also, and Scott, you bring up a good point. And to go along with that as well, too, look, we grew up in an era where it was about batting averages, runs, wins. Obi, you talked about wins, losses for pitchers. Now it's strikeout per 9, OPS, whip,
spin rate,
exit velocity, those things now excite the younger fan and excite the newer age baseball fan, which is fine. I'm not, it's funny. Folks close to me think I'm like completely anti-analytics. I said, I'm not. I go, here's my problem with analytics. Analytics right now has become the driving force instead of the old school baseball thinking, where I actually think it needs to be reverse. Baseball's baseball. But where analytics needs to just be more of a supporting character rather than the lead character in the story. That's where I think right now baseball's in those crossroads with that. Let the game be the game. But obviously, yes, analytics does provide, and it is important, the quote-unquote analytics. First of all, analytics has always been a part of the game for decades. It's just it's gotten so enhanced. It's gotten so in-depth now. Because look at how many major league teams now they have, data analysts and people on computers all day just popping out packets of information for these coaches and scouting departments and things of that nature. So but you have the old school fan that wishes baseball was still completely old school.
And also for a lot of fans, I think that the when you get into the really advanced metrics and analytics, their eyes kind of glaze over. I'm a stats and numbers guy. And once you get into the really, advanced stuff like Bakota and all that, and the fact that it's taking up most of the screen, even I start to tune out a little bit. So if I'm a numbers geek and I'm losing interest in it, somebody who isn't, statistically inclined, it just has no, and then all you see are strikeouts. It doesn't have very broad appeal, but it's like the analytics have kind of taken away the soul of the game and what makes it fun. When it's just managers and coaching staff looking at binders or print or spreadsheets or whatever, and deciding, oh well, it's the third time through the order. You turn into a pitcher turns into a pumpkin. Just let him play.
Now, here's the other side of it. I want to throw this at you, too, because we haven't actually covered this yet. And we got, give or take, 20-ish minutes left.
We have as much time as we want on this show, Scott.
We could, but I also want to respect his time a little bit, depending on how much time the poor man has. But I did want to...
The world is my oyster here, pal. I'm game.
All right. 17 more hours tops. Guarantee you'll be out of here by 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay.
We're pulling a Mr. Beast video. It's going to be like 10 hours straight. We haven't discussed the sports betting side of things, and sports betting has obviously become a massive part of sports across the board in every single statistic in every single arena. And in some ways, I think has been able to give the fan a more hands-on experience. When it comes to baseball itself, I just want to kind of get your thoughts, if you're willing to throw it out there, all three of you guys, really, about where you see baseball and, this DraftKings and the FanDuels and all those kind of things, where that's going to go, how integral a part it is, and whether or not it's actually good or bad for the sport.
Oh, I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I think for baseball, this is a big win. So traditional betting on baseball before you sat with your bookie in your hand was about the starting pitcher. Like that was one of the key things to set the odds. Now we've already just had the conversation that the starting pitcher doesn't get wins. It goes down to the bullpen. It changes the betting. It makes it much harder to predict on a sport that's pretty close to 50-50. On the other hand, in-game betting on baseball just sounds fantastic. Like I haven't done it. I got my little account. The brand said, no, I cannot wait to do in-game betting with FanDuel on a baseball game. Like it just seems like betting on the outcome of each batter. Like it just seems like that. Baseball, more than any other sport, should be saved by FanDuel because literally you have the time to think about the outcome. Like all the stuff, like Brandon made the point earlier, people are watching it like it's a different sport. But now you get to look at that crazy stats, decide what that all means, and I think baseball needs to lean in so hard. They need to literally go and reinstate Pete Rose and let him be the betting guru. Like that's how hard they should lean into gambling. Done.
I think your 4 batter rule might happen has a better chance of happening than that.
As do I. But that's the last point I haven't even brought up yet. Is I got my 3 big Hall of Fame stuff. That's another question I'll get to later.
Just going to add on this for a second. Actually, you gave me something to consider here because of the fact that baseball is a slower paced sport. You got Aaron Judge up there, first and second, 1 man out. You have so much drama because there's so much time between every pitch that you can actually turn that boredom into excitement and drama. And it's funny because I never thought of it from that perspective because baseball in some ways has slowed down and it's lost some interest. But you give that kind of energy to it. He's got a 3-1 curveball coming, basically he's got a 3-1 count, bottom of the 9th right now, first and second, they're down by 2. I mean, the drama that exists in that entire at bat and what that bet would be, dude. Yeah, I think you got to definitely have a point there.
But what about they're down by 8?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to turn the game off because I'm down $50, but I still have a chance to pick some Aaron. I know he's going to hit a home run because Aaron Judge always hits useless home runs. Like I'm going to watch the game to place that dumb bet. Like that was the whole Monday Night Football thing, right? Like the gamblers lost all their money. And now they had their chance to come back on Monday night and make their money back. And that's what made Monday Night Football popular. Like I just think baseball was such a win situation for them. Yeah. Not that close game, that blowout, but I'll still watch.
Football and basketball with point spreads are easier to bet on for the average fan than baseball is. That's also, I think, a big part of the ratings changes as well.
So I know I brought up I'm going to take a left turn here. I'm just going to grab something. I brought up Rose, joking a little bit. But I do wonder, and I don't even know if Mike, you have an answer for this that you can give. And again, like Scott, I'll open this up to the floor. The last time there was a big strike, they missed the World Series. The players juiced themselves up, home run chase, brought everything back. Then those same players were told, Hall of Fame's not for you. You literally saved this game. Hall of Fame's not for you. And let's not forget, Albert Pujols watched that. Albert Pujols is not setting the records for home runs because Albert Pujols has been like, I'm good enough. I don't need to do the juice, and I don't want to get kicked out of the game. I'll get to Hall of Fame on my own. Do these players who are right now in these negotiations go, like, not only are you not giving us what we want, but there's an anger going, and you didn't give our predecessors, because we know most of the players, you hear players, they're like, no, those guys should be in. These guys in the game, Pujols played with them, and Pujols, I have to imagine, is someone that these guys all watch play, are going, yeah, then they're going to expect us to do something to get this game back, and then be like, screw you, you did the wrong thing. Does that weigh on the players at all? Because I feel like it would if it was me. I'd be like, you screwed over Bonds and Clemens. They saved this game. You screwed over McGuire and Sosa. They saved this game. I have a job because of them. And now I'm going to sign a deal, and then you're going to what? Hey, take steroids or do whatever, and then, screw you later.
Well, I think a couple things here. One thing, obviously, that from the player standpoint in this lockout is that that both sides we've discussed have dug their heels in. And one of the reasons is, Obi, maybe not the exact reasons, but because of deals that were made in the past, the players, they feel like, the owners have made strong, have come out on the winning side of the last few CBAs. So this is kind of where the players are sitting there saying, we're going to not just fight for ourselves, but of course, like you said, fight for our predecessors. Two, and I do want to make a mention about the Hall of Fame, but Scott, you talk about gambling. I myself, as an employee, I can never bet on baseball. But if I were just a fan, if FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever gambling company there is out there, I'd be all over it. Just like how the NFL and the NHL and the NBA and other sports. UFC. I mean, even UFC's big with with FanDuel and DraftKings. Man, I was watching the AEW wrestling pay-per-view last night, and DraftKings was all over the ring. So, but you mentioned about the Hall of Fame, and I don't want to go into a full-fledged here because I know we have more important things, but the Hall of Fame voting gets me so agitated every year as a baseball. You'd want to talk about what grinds my gears, Scott. Is the Hall of Fame voting? Okay, you know the trend on social media where everyone's doing about this. The hands. This is what grinds my gears here. In 1998, you look at the last 35 years, 40 years of baseball, the summer of 1998 is still to this day the best summer of baseball. Summer of baseball. Now, you mentioned Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa. Baseball turned the blind eye to those two. They knew what they were doing. They turned the blind eye. And then the writers decided to leave them out because steroids put a black eye on the game.
I mean, the revisionist history and holier than thou take by the writers is sickening, especially since they knew it was going on and they didn't say anything while it was happening. Writers like Mike Lupica raking in the sales of writing books about the summer of '98, and then
great book, by the way, great book.
Yeah, and then you turn around, and poo-poo the players that made that happen. I'm personally of the opinion that I think they were all cheating. They're all doing steroids. If everybody's doing it, is it really cheating? They were still the best among their peers at that time, so they should be in the Hall of Fame. They were still the best of what they did amongst their peers at that time. So saying that there's some who can get in and some can't because they didn't kiss writers' asses enough, what I've said throughout this year with with the Hall of Fame debate. And also one player who tested, we have a few players who tested positive in that survey test in 2003, who we're saying is an excuse for not letting them in. Yet David Ortiz, who was also in that same group, was just elected on the first ballot. Hypocrites, all of them.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up because, like, you look at what McGuire and Sosa did in 1998. They saved the game of baseball. That and selfless plug here, obviously, the '98 Yankees going on the run they did to, combine all of that. Now, you mentioned about the Mitchell Report and David Ortiz. To me, and look, David Ortiz, no one's arguing. Guy's a Hall of Famer. Nobody's arguing it. The guy was in first ballot. People sit there, well, is he first ballot? No, guy's a Hall of Famer, okay? So you're going to vote David Ortiz in, but you're going to penalize Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. So now I'm 33. Now I'm 33 years old. If people were to ask me to this day if I can have the best hitter and best pitcher of my lifetime, those two guys right there. Now, I would really want to say Ken Griffey Jr., but Griffey was just hurt a little too much.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 minute. I got you by 15 years, and I agree. So they got another 15 years covered. Please go on.
And the other pitcher, I can't believe I'm giving the Red Sox so much love. Pedro, to me, is right after Roger in that regard. So, and here's the thing. Allegedly, those two took steroids. They never tested positive. Allegedly. So you kept them out because they allegedly, now we all know deep down, we all know they did it. But allegedly, they took steroids. And now there is the argument that baseball is a museum and, whether it's good or bad. But the writer's stance ultimately is that, okay, we understand there were sins of the past. We're going to do everything we possibly can to not commit the sins of voting in guys. They take that character clause very seriously now, more so than I think they take the baseball statistics side. Because, if you, like as you said, Brendan, if you are a good guy, you're going to get in quicker. Jim Rice was kept out of the Hall of Fame for a number of years because he was not so nice to the media. Jeff Kent is still getting penalized to this day because of how rude he was to the media. And in my opinion, Jeff Kent is probably the best second baseman the game has seen in the last 25 years, 30 years. So, I mean, like I said, I could keep going, but Scott, I'd like to hear your take, or if you want to move it on. So
I only have one thing to add on that. I do agree with you, but the only thing I'm going to add to this is the fact that Bud Selig, the commissioner who was in charge during all of it,
that's right,
is in the Hall of Fame.
And Tony La Russa, the manager of all of the juicers.
Additionally, so you have the commissioner of baseball who was there at the time, also oversaw the initial penalty for steroids, which, does anyone remember what the original penalty for steroids was?
Wasn't it like a 5-game suspension or something ridiculous?
I actually,
like that.
I don't know.
10-day suspension. In-game suspension for testing positive. The original, yes, 10 days. That was it.
I remember that.
And then the outcry came out. Yeah, and then eventually they bumped
like
up
a 1-game suspension in football.
Yes, exactly.
So if you were a pitcher that got nailed, you would miss 2 starts. So that even then, when they basically had the rule in place, they were still saying to the point, we don't really want to penalize this. And I find that curious. But you have a commissioner who oversaw it at the time, the person in charge saw it or at the time, who gave a very, very light, barely, slap on the wrist penalty on that. And also, don't forget, was also involved with the 94 strike and also the 2002 All-Star game tie. So he got in. What's your excuse?
I guarantee that there's players in the Hall of Fame who did do steroids. Just they were lucky that their dealer wasn't the one caught, like Kirk Radomski, who was the basis of the Mitchell Report. So most of that was based on one source.
Look, just to give you, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I mean, multiple reports were just based on certain, Balco in San Francisco, Radomski in New York, the the biogenesis in Florida, with A-Rod and Braun and other players. So they were just the ones that got caught. So there's one, I believe it was, I don't know if it was the Jose Canseco book or one of the baseball books accused Pudge Rodriguez, and had credible evidence from when I think it was when Canseco played with him with the Rangers. So, yet he was somehow none affected by it and was elected first ballot. I would not be surprised, and that's one of, I'm sure, several other players who have been elected to the Hall of Fame in recent years who have done steroids. Yet because of other players getting caught, we didn't want to believe Canseco at the time because of he's not exactly the most likable character out there. But everything he said, he's right.
Now, I've been very fortunate enough to have conversations with a lot of coaches throughout my time in the minor leagues, players, coordinators, you name it. Let's just say that greenies or amphetamines were quite popular for a long time. And
there was people have been
players
cheating
took
in
it.
baseball for as long as the sport's been around.
Absolutely.
People were taking monkey testosterone in the 1800s. From the beginning. Since the sport has been around, players have been trying to get an advantage with whatever substance or skullduggery was available.
Nice word.
So I want to make another complete turn to something that is going to happen this year, because whether baseball happens or not, because we do have minor league baseball. Somebody I followed on for quite some time on social media got an incredible job, and I don't know if you know her, and if you do, I'd love to hear what you have to say about her. Rachel Balkovec is getting to be the manager of the single-A New York Yankees. Do you know her? I mean, I follow her on social media. She's a great follow. She was a hitting coach. She talked the talk, and from what she said, she walked the walk. If you know, I'd love to hear anything you might have on her, or just your opinion on that in general.
Well, I don't know Rachel, but when I had heard that she got the Tampa Tarpons managerial post. The Tampa Tarpons are the low A affiliate for the New York Yankees. I wasn't surprised because I've been fortunate enough to talk with people from the minor league level that work within the Yankee system. That who knows who, everybody knows everybody pretty much. That the raves about the reviews about her are through the roof. Like, this woman knows the game. She's been a complete student of the game, and she has such a great mind. And I think those players that are going to play underneath her this season are going to benefit so well. And I know there are some haters out there, and sadly for those haters, they need to get they need to get in line, because the Yankees, in putting her in that position, they're not treating that lightly. She is prepared for this moment. She has worked hard for this moment, and I know she's going to absolutely kick ass in this moment. So her job is to help develop these young men, especially in the minor league level. Winning is secondary to developing. So her job is to develop these position players that they can then move up to the high A level and so on and so forth, that they can eventually help the Yankees. She's going to be a big part of it. So I've been very fortunate, guys, to know a lot of women in baseball, and everyone that I've come across have done some really cool things. I know plenty of women broadcasters. There's actually a good conglomerate of women minor league broadcasters. I know all of them pretty well, so they're all outstanding in their work. So, and
Kim Engen with the Marlins as well.
Yeah, Kim Engen, and also too in the Phillies player development office, Dana Parks. I've had the opportunity to work alongside Dana, for a few years now when she was hired. And Dana's done some really good work, helping to oversee the player development of the Phillies minor league system. So, and then actually we're really excited here in Lehigh Valley because the coaching staff will have their first woman on staff, Megan Flaherty. She will be she's an athletic trainer, so she'll be one of the two athletic trainers on staff. So, OB, great bring up by you, because, you're going to see more and more women are making their way into the game, and I think it's awesome to see. And you know what? You look at Kim Eng. Kim Eng has done how she wasn't a GM even sooner was an atrocity, and for her now being with the Miami Marlins, you saw what Miami can do. They're in a tough division, obviously, with, the Mets and, I think Atlanta, of course, and, the Phillies are trying to figure things out. But, there's definitely going to be a lot of excitement starting with Rachel, and it's going to continue along here as the game progresses forward.
Now, talking about the Marlins a little bit in this case, obviously she's got her work cut out for her because that is a challenging organization. But obviously with the fact that Derek Jeter is stepping down, do you see that making any kind of an impact, or is just more of just like, hey, Derek Jeter stepped down?
I think you can make a case for both sides. At the end of the day, Derek Jeter was from an ownership standpoint, but where at the end of the day, he obviously had control, but he didn't have like all of control per se. Mm-hmm. So, I think for the Marlins from that standpoint, will look to, find someone within their ownership group or bring somebody else on. But ultimately, I think for where Derek Jeter was making an impact was he brought in a lot of former Yankee people, and, mm-hmm. They were able to, from a player development side, because he said he was going to rebuild this organization.
Gary Denbo.
So Gary Denbo was a big part of it.
Don Mattingly. Mattingly's been there for ages.
And, Donnie Baseball right now has done a remarkable job managing that team down there in Miami. So I trust in Kim Eng. That's why I think the Marlins are in great hands with Kim Eng as their general manager. So from that standpoint, it's not going to be, too much of a big issue. But, you sit there, I guess, if you're a player thinking, oh, okay, I signed with the Marlins, Derek Jeter's the owner. I think maybe there's that teeny tiny bit of credibility. But I think for the long run, as long as what Derek Jeter had put in place maybe can stay intact, or, obviously there'll be tweaks over time when you get new hands in the cookie jar per se. But, I'm intrigued to see where he's going to end up next. And I don't think he's done with Major League Baseball. He wants to own a team. So I'll be intrigued to see where he goes next.
I wonder if it's as a former player with the I'm wondering if there's more to the Jeter situation with his perspective as a former player, and what some of the other small market owners in baseball, maybe even Sherman with the Marlins, how they have approached these negotiations. I wonder if as a former player that left a bad taste in his mouth, where he said, this isn't what I signed up for, at least not with the Marlins. So I wonder if that's a factor in play as well. And regarding Kim Eng specifically, with Jeter resigning, the president of baseball operations position is open. So maybe they could add that title for Kim Eng. And everything I've read about her is that she would be fantastic in that role, and she should have gotten a general manager position several years ago. So I do think that Jeter will be back in baseball in some capacity, but it will be interesting to see, especially with the tone taken by many of the owners, especially the small market owners. With the existing offer of the $220 million luxury tax on the table, there was 4 owners that already said that's too high for us, and there's some that won't go any higher. They can only lose 7. Oddly enough, one of those 4 votes is Artie Moreno, who's spending a boatload of money on Mike Trout. So, he has the money. They have the money. They don't want to spend it. And just the owner. So this work stoppage is also the owners fighting amongst themselves.
Yes.
So, not like I was trying to get back into that, but just it will be fascinating to see what happens with Kim Eng and the Marlins with Jeter's departure.
But not
in Yankees.
No, yeah, look, and you bring up a good point, obviously, and that's why, I'm still confident Major League Baseball is going to find a way to play this season, but you touched on some points that are certainly being put out there right now. Obviously, the players, we're looking for more of an increase on their side. The owners, obviously, they're trying to, they want at some point things to kind of level off from a financial standpoint on how much money is being shelled out. So, but right now, too, as much as you have owners, players, you touched on it, from what it seems that is continuing to be reported, that you have the bigger owners and then the smaller owners are trying to figure stuff out as well too. So, I think for the short-term guys, I think the lockout is still going to stay into effect. But, like I said, I at this point, I hope I'm wrong, but if I can make it, and this is just my opinion, of course, we won't see regular season baseball in April. I think the earliest you'll see a comeback.
Yeah. There's the kind of consensus here. Mother's Day, maybe Memorial Day on this side.
Memorial Day is my guess. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also,
Brandon, I think said Mother's Day. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Another thing also worth noting is that it isn't until the 25 game mark that teams have to give money back to the regional sports networks. So so it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks as they're hitting that 20, 25 game mark, if there's more urgency to make a deal so the teams don't have to give rebates and credits to the regional sports networks. Follow the money with any of this. Even though I don't think that the players will be amenable to it. The owners might finally get some urgency at that point, but I don't think the players will give it to them. They're still so far apart. But I do think there is some kind of season probably starting around Memorial Day.
We are Stream Punk Entertainment, so wherever you just point that out. But I say that because this Grind My Gear show, and we have been so lucky to have Mike, in general, usually goes back and forth between sports and entertainment. And Mike did bring up a point earlier about entertainment. And it really is hard to think of a sports movie that in the top 5 of my sports movies, other than Caddyshack, that isn't a baseball sports movie. So when Mike was going before, here's my list in no particular order of the top 5: Field of Dreams, Major League, Sandlot, The Natural, and of course the Bad News Bears. So that was my list. With all due respect to the ladies, I went with the all male movies. But I am to ask you, other than baseball movies, what are your favorite? Give me your top 5 non-baseball sports movies, Mike, and to the rest of the team as well. Just because we are supposed to do a little entertainment besides sports.
Well, I'm going to add a little fun story here. I think Obi, I think I might have told you this before. Scott, I think I told you this before. So I'll give you my top 5 because I have it off the top of my head. So when you talk about baseball movies, I've been fortunate enough in my career. So all of you have seen A League of Their Own. And to the folks watching and listening, hopefully you've seen it. If you haven't, watch it. It's one of the best baseball movies out there. So there were 2 ballparks that were featured essentially. I think there was a third. I think they did a scene or 2 at Wrigley Field, obviously, for the tryout. But there was you had Rockford Stadium and Racine Stadium. Mm-hmm. I've broadcasted games from Racine Stadium in Evansville, Indiana, and when I was a member of the Southern Illinois Miners franchise in the Frontier League for 2 years in 2012 and 2013, and I still remember walking into Bossy Field and walking up and hearing Frank Sinatra's "Come Fly With Me" and looking out and thinking, son of a gun. This is where the championship, this is where Kit wins the game for Racine. And obviously, the Rockford Peaches, they take the loss. And that was really a really cool moment. So from an entertainment standpoint, but if I'm going, it's just sports movies. I'm going to leave baseball moves out. So I'm going to give you my top 5 that have nothing to do with baseball in no particular order. Hoosiers. Rudy. Probably for me, Remember the Titans. I would probably throw in Slapshot.
Yes.
That's a fun one.
Because Slapshot, when it comes to hockey movies, like I get Miracles there, but it's always Slapshot for me. You laugh your butt off when you watch Slapshot.
So much fun. Such a fun movie.
And then I guess the other one is, I think, you talked about it, Obi, is and even though I'm a little younger and I loved Happy Gilmore, but to me, Caddyshack, from a golf standpoint, honorable mention, another golf movie, Tin Cup.
Okay.
I liked a good. Tim Cup was always a good one for me. So.
Go keep in the water.
Yep.
Big Lebowski, if you consider bowling a sport, is another good one.
Oh yeah, absolutely is.
Let's look at your opinion, man.
Yeah, I would. Caddyshack is my favorite. Caddyshack and Major League are my favorites.
All right, is it
The
put in on me now?
replacements as well.
Replacements, yes. I have the jersey behind me over there on the other side. All right, I can give you top 3, maybe top 4. I have to think about it. Miracle, yes. You want a movie you have not? No one has mentioned yet. The Rookie, the Dennis Quaid movie about Jim Morris, because I remember Jim Morris when he played. I remembered all of that. You know, a 35-year-old science teacher who, on a dare, found out he could pitch at 98 miles an hour and got a second shot in baseball and played 2 years.
Yeah,
I remember. So for me, like I said, I've got the book, I've got the DVD. You know, so that's my number 2. Number 3, you know what? Honestly, The Replacements probably. Number 4 would probably be Waterboy, I think. You know.
Good. Yeah.
I like Adam Sandler. I always have. Dude, I'm sorry. You know, here's the thing. Adam Sandler films are simple, fun, laid back, easy stuff for me. Yeah. And having met Adam Sandler, I've got a soft spot because he is one of the nicest people on the planet. Celeb or not, he is just an amazing human being. And Waterboy, like I said, I feel it on that. And honestly, 5, I got to go, God help me again, with Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore. But it's not for him. It's not for him. It's for Shooter McGavin. Shooter. Oh, my God, yeah.
I gotta say, I am surprised that nobody, and this is one where, this is weird, because you usually don't say this about sports movies, but the book was better, was Blindside. That book is such an amazing football book. Like what he goes into in terms of what he covers. Forget
basketball.
The whole
basketball. My God, yes, I should have.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a great book, so I just thought they'd throw it out there. The movie itself was okay. Of course, the Sandra Bullock fans love it, but yeah, basketball's another great choice, Brandon.
God, I freaking love basketball.
The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah. All right. By the way, my question for you though. Yes. Space Jam 1 or Space Jam 2?
If anybody on this planet ever says Space Jam 2, they can take a ship back to Moron Mountain, okay? So, okay, you guys got my reference. You got my reference. Space Jam. So, come on. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, MJ all day, baby. Let's go.
MJ, Bill Murray, you know, Wayne Knight. You know.
I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this picture.
I haven't seen number 2 yet, but I'm going to agree with Brandon. I am, for a man my age, I am shockingly in the LeBron James boat. In terms of
all right. And by the way, thank you very much, Obi. It was nice talking to
you. I did not say I like Space Jam 2 more. I was just talking about the player.
First of all, look. Brandon, I know you've been watching. Appreciate the support. It's not even close, brother. Michael Jordan all day, every day.
We could have a whole other show going back.
We could, yes. I was going to say we could have a whole other show.
Yeah. So. That's another 3-hour fight.
That's more of that Space Jam could be a Tales from the Film Set argument right there.
Yes, it can.
Like I said, I didn't see the second, and I'm not gonna. I mean, LeBron impressed me in Trainwreck, but that was enough.
Mm-hmm.
He was good in Trainwreck. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm. Stop being afraid.
Now he's playing Trainwreck with the Lakers this year.
The thing is, Brandon's younger than I think the rest of us, so it's a generational thing there.
It really is.
Yeah, I think he's like 25 years old or something. So
yeah, that's why I say for my age, it is shocking that I am a LeBron man. Although I am late, truth be told, getting truly into NBA basketball. I remember the game that got me into NBA basketball, and I think Jordan was either retired. If he wasn't retired, he was with the Wizards because it was an NBA final, and it was the San Antonio Spurs versus the New York Knicks, and Latrell. It was basically Latrell Sprewell versus the big fundamental. Just 1, 2, back and forth. And I was like, this sport is really good at this level. And after that, I started only watching the finals. And then I started watching all the playoffs. And now I'm like, well, the NBA season's here. Let's get going.
That 99 Knicks teams was one of my favorites growing up. The Larry Johnson 4-point play in the conference finals against the Pacers, that was insane to watch. And Ewing got hurt for the second year in a row that year. So the Knicks made that run as an 8th seed to the finals, and then they were stuck with Chris Dudley going up against Duncan and Robinson. Oof. It was a miracle they even won a single game and lost in 5 instead of a sweep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was also I think was that Ewing's last year with the next, or is it next to last?
It was the second to last because he was never the same after he blew out his ACL in '98. And so he missed the rest of that season, and then he was a shell of himself, in and out of injured for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The Orlando Magic, my new team.
That's another 30 for 30. I need to go back and watch this magic moment.
Yeah,
this magic moment. Sorry, I did. So
yeah, that was during the Keeb's small reign of terror.
But so. Figure maybe we could start wrapping this up a little bit on the grounds that I have to get up at 3:30 tomorrow morning. So
that seems legit.
Yeah. But basically we had to talk about you because we had to talk about basically what you got going on. Talk a little Iron Pigs, talk a little bit about basically what the new season's going to look like for you. Right now, it was a little bit of a rough season last year. You had a good 2018 though. What are you expecting out of your team this year?
I'm hoping that with the Phillies are hopefully going to implement some younger guys. So I would expect the team to be a little bit better than what they were this past season. So they were once again under 500, but they have a brand new coaching staff. Preston Mattingly is the new farm director. Don Mattingly's son coming over from the San Diego Padres. So he brings over Anthony Contreras, who was their high A manager in the Padres system. Had a chance to speak with him a few times. He's got a good head on his shoulders. You could tell he's ready to get to work. He has 3 assistant coaches underneath him that have all put Iron Pigs uniforms on at one time or another. So Joe Thurston's the team's hitting coach. Cesar Ramos is the team's pitching coach. And Greg Brodzinski's the bench coach. So 3 quality guys that are going to help, develop this team and hopefully win some ball games. And also, too, another reason why you want to keep an eye on Phillies AAA baseball here with the Iron Pigs, Bryson Stott. He's one of the top prospects in professional baseball, shortstop. And also, too, he is not shy about Bryson Stott's, being Bryce Harper's best friend. So my power's kicking out. We have a storm by me, so don't be surprised if my power goes out here at any point. So, but get to ironpigsbaseball.com if you want to come visit in the Lehigh Valley. Hook me up. Scott and Obi could tell you good times. So
you guys cast TV and radio too, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're locally here. I see on the screen, so it's changed a little bit, but we're on WEEX 1230. We're also on 94.7 FM. We're no longer with WTKZ 1320, but we're still with Service Electric TV 2 there. And, of course, you can catch all of our games on minorleaguebaseball.tv as well. So
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So basically, we got to make sure that we're going to update the Wikipedia page on that. So, that'll be part of our priority tomorrow. We're going to fix that.
So, favorite minor league team name?
Yes.
Obviously, I'm going to be biased here. Obviously, I love the Iron Pigs names, but there's some really good names out there. I got to give a shout out to the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, and also to the Fayette Woodpeckers as well too. So you probably can hear the rain in the background. It is just coming in nasty right now. So
yeah. All right. So maybe we will call it. But I mean, come on, the Akron Rubber Ducks though. You got the Rubber Ducks.
Rubber Duckies.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about the Akron Rubber Ducks.
Yeah,
I forgot about the Rubber Ducks.
Isn't there banana slugs somewhere too?
There is a banana slug. I think it was Florida, is it?
California somewhere.
California, right. Okay. But, dude, any other final thoughts? Anything else you want to add?
No, thank you guys for having me on. Give us a follow on at Iron Pigs on Twitter, or of course you can give me a follow at Venting Daily on Twitter. So we tweet a lot, and just hopefully you guys get out and check a minor league baseball game. Hopefully you come to Lehigh Valley. If not, go into your communities and go visit your local minor league teams. So it's where you're going to watch your baseball until the major leagues figure things out.
And when does your season start?
We start officially Tuesday, April 5th is our opening day against the Columbus Clippers, the AAA affiliate of the Cleveland Guardians. See, I got that one right.
All right.
The Cleveland baseball team is you have the Washington football team.
That's right. Yes.
Although I will say I do like the Guardians a lot, worlds better than I like the Commodores or the Commanders. I'm sorry.
I like the Commodores.
The Commodores. I'm with you. I like that.
The Commodes is what I usually go with as an NFC East team. But yeah, no, thank you as always. I appreciate that. Well, I'd love to have you back on if we can figure it out. So
anytime, guys. You know me. I love talking with you guys. Would love to do this again. So
thank you. So all right. So yeah. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say thank you to Mike. As always, it is always great to see you and talk to you again.
Yeah.
And then I was going to do my own plugs so we can get ourselves out of here. Of course, I got all the stuff that Scott will tell you about that I do with him. Although I don't know who's doing tomorrow's Sports Den, but make sure you watch it.
Brandon,
me and Brandon.
Yeah,
all right.
That should be fun.
Yes.
You guys are never short on opinions with each other.
Oh, absolutely. If you guys want to watch our version of PTI or whatever show you like, that tomorrow's episode should be good. I also, of course, have Drinking from the Garden Hose with our new feature. We haven't quite named it, so I'm going to call it #Ed, where I give him a surprise topic, which he amazingly knows stuff about. Seriously, I picked a random topic, and he knew all about it last week. We're going to try and stump him this week. But that will be released, of course, Friday morning, Drinking from the Garden Hose, wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah. And I will hand it over to JD to give us his spiel.
Yeah, and thanks, Mike, for coming on. This is my first time talking with you, but I know you've talked with these guys more. It's been a pleasure. I'm still putting my stuff together, so Grind My Gears, the Sports Den and other Spanglish shows. Is Me, My Scotch and I still a thing, Obi?
No, not well. It's on hiatus. I need to get into what I need for that show is something like this where we have flexible hours where we can do it. Because Mike's been a guest twice, and I'd like to be able to get somebody the whiskeys and stuff. So yeah, I really want to get it back on. I have
an idea. I want to run by you for that.
All right, absolutely.
As a future old person like the other two of us are. Tomorrow night, I just want to throw in one more thing. Tales from the Film Set at 7 p.m. on the Tales from the Film Set side on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. It is a breakdown, spoiler and spoiler-free review of the Batman. Ryan and JT have some very specific conversations about that, including a special guest that legitimately I don't actually know who it is yet. But Ryan's been handling all of that behind the scenes, so I'm going to be equally surprised to find out who this person's going to be. So we got that coming up. Next week, we're going to have a couple cast members coming from, I can't really go into too much right now, but we've got a couple guest spots coming in from TV shows on Netflix and things like that for Tales coming in next week. So once I finalize all that, I'll get that done because, I basically try and do stuff like that if I can. So, all right. But yeah, as far as we go, appreciate it as always. Mike, thank you, man. I miss you, man. You rock. You really do.
My pleasure. No, you guys are the best. I love talking baseball, talking sports with you guys. So seriously, anytime you guys want me on or, just to talk baseball, please just hit me up. Love to do it again.
You know what? Let's see what we can do. Definitely see what we can do. So as for me, I will be at the opening weekend this weekend for MLS from the press box for NYCFC as they're having the banner unfurling and also their first home match of the season against Montreal. So catch my thoughts on that afterwards as well. That'll be on the Spanglish World Network side of things. But for right now, I'm Scott. That's JD Walker. That is Mr. Obi Spencer. And that is Mr. Michael Ventola from the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the AAA affiliate for the Philadelphia Phillies. Check him out April 5th. This is his first game this season as a broadcaster for this season. But yeah, as far as us, we're Stream Punk Entertainment. Find us on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Just look it up. If you know how to use the internet, you can find us. So thanks as always for tuning in. Be good. Stay awesome.